From giants with magic beans to musicians with clothing companies, from big pharma to small farms, these days it feels like everybody is selling something. So you might as well sell something too. That coffee might be for closers only, but inputs can be for everyone. Today, we look at turning that side hustle into a full-time hustle, organically, by selling to organic farmers. We'll explore some do's and don'ts when selling any material input for use on organic farms and get familiar with different rules and restrictions. There's a lot of opportunity to make money in organics, and the industry continues to grow. Selling successfully to organic farmers means two things. One, your product works, and two, your product is eligible to be used on certified organic farms. If it doesn't work, why would you even be selling it, you evil, possibly undercover petrochemical agent genius? Do you work for a place that rhymes with Ron Flanto? No? Then we're going to assume it works. In fact, it's great. We are so proud of you for making such an awesome product. Now, let's make sure it's allowable. The biggest difference between selling material input products to conventional and organic farms are the USDA Organic regulations. So let's get selling without any drama. While some prohibited substances can make parties or videos a whole lot more fun, on organic farms, they just make folks sad and can result in loss of certification, which is a nightmare for the farmer. And as a seller, you don't want to be known for destroying your customer's business. So early on in the development of your amazing miracle elixir, you'll want to get familiar with the national list of allowed and prohibited substances. This is your go-to starting place to determine if a product is allowed for use in organics. A general rule of an organic green thumb is that non-synthetic substances are allowed. Think naturally occurring minerals like lime from a mine source. And synthetic substances are not allowed. Think chemically derived lime. But of course, rules are no fun without exceptions, and the organic rules are no exception. For example, arsenic is non-synthetic but is prohibited, and magnesium sulfate fertilizer is derived from synthetic processes but is allowed. So in this case, reading is both fun and fundamental. And just because a product says organic on the label does not mean it is allowed in certified organic farming. Organic can have its chemistry meaning, derived from carbon-based molecules, think compost, or it can mean complies with the USDA Organic regulations, think contains no prohibited substances. So that's it. You've got it all. Go forth and... Just kidding, there's a ton more to be aware of. Because sometimes ceci n'est pas une pipe, and sometimes something is allowed or it's allowed with restrictions. Allowed with restrictions means that in some cases, a substance can be approved for one use and not another. The USDA Organic regulations indicate when and how the use of a substance is restricted. The OMRI database also indicates when a substance carries a restriction. An example is that manure is allowed, but is restricted in when it can be applied. Application must be 90 or 120 days prior to harvest, depending on the crop and intended use. We call this the don't put shit where you eat rule, but it's totally cool to do it 3 to 4 months prior to harvest. And shit, in this case, only refers to particular non-human creatures. There are a few certainties in life, but you not using your own shit as an input on others' farms is definitely one of them. You knew that, right? Right? Now, there are two restrictions that are particularly relevant to input suppliers. The first is the requirement for preventative management for pest, disease, and weed issues. Let's unpack this a little. It means that before any pesticide, disease treatment, or organically approved herbicide can be used, a farmer must show their certifier that they tried to prevent said pest, disease, and weed issues with practices like crop rotation, sanitation, planting appropriate varieties, etc., but that these practices were insufficient to prevent or control the issue. You came, you tried, you failed, you documented this failure, and now you get to use an input. The responsibility is always on the farmer to demonstrate the need, but for those who work with farmers, a little reminder never hurts. Unless you're working with someone super thin-skinned. Then maybe try it as a song. We need to know how bad you failed so we can get the right The second is the requirement for a demonstrated deficiency for micronutrient inputs. This means that if a farmer wants to use micronutrients, they need to first document that they have a deficiency, and this needs to be done for each micronutrient applied. It kind of makes sense, right? Like, why add something if you're already good on it? I mean, could I add any more authoritative knowledge on selling to organic farmers to this video? Oh, there's still more. I guess we've officially documented a deficiency. Acceptable forms of documented deficiency include soil test, tissue test, or other documented and verifiable method as approved by the certifying agent, such as observations of plant symptoms, or your producer telling you that you're not done. And remember, with a mix or blend, if any ingredient has a restriction, then the application of the whole mix or blend must meet the restriction for each and every ingredient. Okay, time to get materialistic. Like, are you really going to list those materials and ingredients? Yes, you are. Because selling to organic farmers requires full transparency. There's no crying in baseball, and there are no secret ingredients allowed in organics. Now look, you don't have to tell the farmer every ingredient in your product, but you do have to tell the certifiers. And there's no need to worry about confidentiality. Certifiers are not trying to steal product ideas or supplier connections. They just need to verify compliance for each ingredient. Probably. Seriously, they want you to be successful, so be responsive to communications from certifiers, because your customer can't use your product until the certifier reviews the material. An easy streamline is to ensure that your ingredients list is complete for every blend and sent to every organic client that you work with. They can then manage communications with the certifier. A best practice would be getting your product reviewed and listed by a materials review organization, like OMRI or Washington State Department of Agriculture. Yes, there's a fee, but it will buy you a lot of time and peace of mind in the long run. The last two things to be aware of are selling seed and applying materials. Organic farmers are generally required to use certified organic seed, but there are exceptions. Any organic farmer buying non-organic seed is required to demonstrate a reason for the purchase and that they conducted an appropriate search. If you are selling non-organic seed to a certified organic farmer, the seed must be non-GMO with a certifying statement and cannot be treated with a prohibited substance. Always indicate any coating, treatment, or pelleting with full brand and manufacturer name. You know the farmer needs it, so why make them ask? And while compliance for most of these things falls on the farmer, for material application, it's on the applicator to make sure no contamination with prohibited substances occurs. Remember, one of the main purposes of organic certification is to grow a crop without the use of prohibited substances, so you must do a thorough clean-out of equipment that is used on both organic and conventional fields. Think planters, sprayers, spreaders, wagons, truck beds, totes, etc. And because we heart documentation, your cleanout must be documented and provided to the farmer for their records. So there you have it. You are now prepared to protect the organic certification of your clients and to assist them in meeting the requirements of the National Organic Program. Look at you, you trustworthy supplier of allowed organic inputs. We are officially closers. Give me that coffee.
Put that coffee down.
Fine. Jeez.
Coffee's for closers only. You all know first prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize is a set of steak knives.